From wild to worshipped, the complete history of cats, 10,000 BCE to today. Before there were cities, before writing, before temples and kings, there were cats watching from the edges of human life. Silent. Alert. Unclaimed. The history of cats is not a story of conquest or control. It's a story of choice, theirs as much as ours. From wild predators to sacred beings, from ship companions to internet icons, cats have walked beside humanity for over 10,000 years, never fully domesticated, never fully wild. This is the complete history of cats, from 10,000 BCE to today. Welcome to History TimeRift, where we journey through the shadows of the past to uncover the untold stories that shaped humanity. From ancient civilizations to mysterious events lost in time, we bring history to life, one riveting tale at a time. Let's dive in. Our story begins at the end of the last ice age. Around 10,000 BCE, humans were undergoing one of the most important transitions in their history. Nomadic hunter-gatherers were beginning to settle, farming wild grains and storing food in permanent villages. With stored grain came rodents. And with rodents came opportunity. In the Fertile Crescent, a region stretching across parts of modern-day Turkey, Syria, Iraq, and Israel, a small wildcat known as Felis sylvestris libica began to linger near human settlements. These cats were not pets. They were cautious, solitary hunters drawn by an abundance of prey. Humans tolerated them because they solved a problem: rodents that threatened food supplies. No one decided to domesticate cats. There was no breeding program, no fences, no attempt at control. Instead, a mutual relationship slowly formed. Cats that were less fearful stayed closer to humans. Humans who tolerated cats benefited from pest control. Over generations, this quiet alliance reshaped both species. One of the earliest physical proofs of this bond comes from Cyprus, around 7,500 BCE. Archaeologists discovered a human buried alongside a cat, carefully placed, intentionally honored. Since cats were not native to the island, this meant humans had already begun transporting them by boat. A wild animal does not get buried with a human unless something profound has changed. As agriculture spread, so did cats. By the time we reach ancient Egypt, around 3000 BCE, cats had crossed from usefulness into reverence. Egypt transformed the cat from a tolerated hunter into a symbol of protection, fertility, and divine order. Cats were associated with the goddess Bastet, a deity of home, childbirth, joy, and protection. Bastet was often depicted with a cat's head or as a graceful feline figure. To harm a cat even accidentally was a serious crime, sometimes punishable by death. Egyptian households kept cats not only to protect grain but to guard the home spiritually. Cats were believed to ward off evil, snakes, and disease. When a family cat died, household members would shave their eyebrows in mourning. Cats were mummified, placed in tombs, and buried with care, sometimes alongside offerings meant for the afterlife. Ironically, Egypt's love for cats nearly trapped them. Exporting cats was forbidden. But merchants, sailors, and traders smuggled them out anyway, recognizing their value aboard ships. Cats controlled rats, protected cargo, and adapted easily to life at sea. And so, cats spread across the ancient world. In Greece and Rome, cats were respected but not worshipped. They shared space with other pest controllers like weasels, yet their independence fascinated people. Roman soldiers carried cats across Europe, where they adapted to colder climates and new environments. By the early centuries CE, cats had reached Britain, Scandinavia, India, and East Asia. In China, cats were prized for protecting silk production from rodents. In Japan, cats became symbols of good fortune, a belief that still survives today in the Maneki Nikko, the beckoning cat statue. But the Middle Ages would change everything. As Europe entered a period of religious fear, superstition, and plague, cats, especially black cats, fell under suspicion. Their nocturnal habits, glowing eyes, and independence made them targets. They were associated with witchcraft, demons, and evil spirits. This fear had consequences. Cats were killed in large numbers across parts of Europe. Ironically, this reduction in cat populations may have contributed to the spread of rats and with them, the Black Death. Yet even during this dark chapter, cats survived. In monasteries, farms, and ships, they remained indispensable. Sailors considered cats good luck. Farmers knew better than to get rid of their best hunters. Cats endured not because humans protected them, but because humans needed them. As the Renaissance and Enlightenment unfolded, attitudes shifted again. Science replaced superstition. Exploration expanded. Cats traveled the globe aboard ships heading to the Americas, Africa, and beyond. In the Islamic world, cats had long been respected. Islamic tradition speaks fondly of cats, emphasizing cleanliness and kindness toward animals. This cultural respect ensured cats remained protected and welcomed in many regions when Europe still feared them. By the 18th and 19th centuries, cats began transitioning from working animals to companions. Urbanization reduced the need for pest control in some areas, but increased the desire for domestic companionship. Cats fit perfectly into smaller living spaces. They required less maintenance than dogs and adapted easily to indoor life. Selective breeding began relatively late compared to dogs. Most cat breeds we recognize today are only a few hundred years old. This is why domestic cats still closely resemble their wild ancestors. Behaviorally and genetically, they remain remarkably similar to ancient wild cats. The Victorian era marked a turning point. Cat shows became popular. Breeds like the Persian and Siamese gained attention. Cats were no longer just useful, they were admired. In the 20th century, cats entered the modern home fully. Advances in veterinary care, nutrition, and indoor living extended lifespans. Spaying and neutering programs changed population dynamics. Cats became family members rather than background animals. And then came the digital age. The internet did something extraordinary for cats. It turned them into global icons. Their unpredictability, expressions, and independence translated perfectly into photos, videos, and memes. Cats became symbols of humor, comfort, and shared experience across cultures. But beneath the jokes and viral clips lies something deeper. Cats have always reflected humanity's relationship with nature. Unlike dogs, they were never fully shaped by human command. They coexist rather than submit. They remind us that not all partnerships are built on dominance. Even today, domestic cats retain their hunting instincts, territorial behaviors, and independence. They choose when to approach, when to retreat, when to trust. That hasn't changed in 10,000 years. Genetic studies confirm this. Modern house cats are nearly identical to ancient Near Eastern wildcats. Domestication softened their behavior, not their essence. From wild predators stalking grain stores, to sacred guardians of the divine, to feared symbols of darkness, to cherished companions curled on sofas. Cats have survived every shift in human civilization not by changing themselves, but by adapting just enough. They walked into our lives on their own terms. And they never left. The history of cats is not just about animals. It's about humanity. About how we live, what we fear, what we worship, and what we choose to keep close. 10,000 years later, the same eyes still watch us curious, calm, and quietly in control. Thanks for watching History TimeRift. Like, subscribe, and comment your favorite era. We'll explore it next.